Tokyo Disneyland just revealed what would be the most radical change to a classic Disneyland land that I've ever seen, with a complete overhaul of Adventureland that's on the scale of their massive $2.1 billion Fantasy Springs expansion, and then some. Since this concept art dropped, I've been doing my best CSI impression, zooming, enhancing, and analyzing every pixel of this concept art, looking for clues for what these attractions will actually be. And there's a lot there. The new Adventureland adds 3 major modern properties and at least 6 new attractions to the land, while completely demolishing some classic attractions that I previously thought would be untouchable in a Disney castle park. As in, say bye-bye to the backside of water because they're getting rid of Jungle Cruise, and a lot more. So let's dive deep into what this announcement means for the future of Adventureland, not only in Tokyo, but in Orlando and Anaheim as well. Hi, I'm James from Guide to WDW, and welcome to another edition of Future World, where I read way too deep into every little detail that Disney announces to predict the future of Disney's worlds. And today we have an extra adventurous episode, because Tokyo Disneyland, which is arguably the most futuristic Disney destination already, just laid out their vision of the future. Specifically, their goals for 2035. Gotta love a 10-year plan, which I don't have. But OLC has one that they talked about in their long-term strategy document, saying that their goal by 2035 is to, quote, constantly enhance the appeal of our theme parks by redesigning attractions and utilizing previously unused intellectual properties and new technologies. And boy, are they ever doing that, because as part of this slide deck, they shared 2 pieces of concept art with major redesigns to existing lands: Adventureland in Tokyo Disneyland and Port Discovery in Tokyo DisneySea. And let's start in Tokyo DisneySea, because the changes here are significant but not quite as massive as Adventureland. The most important detail is that this shows the removal of Aquatopia, which is an opening day attraction. Kinda like Autopia, but not on a road and you don't control your vehicle. Instead, it's a trackless ride that goes around an outdoor water track. It looks like Aquatopia is being replaced by a ride building. Unlike the Adventureland concept art, there aren't as many juicy clues here pointing out to what kind of ride that this could be. Other existing attractions appear in the concept art, meaning that they're safe. Now, Aquatopia being removed actually gives us a bit of a hint as to what's going on with the concept art in Adventureland. I'll explain how in a bit, but first let's look at this concept art of Tokyo Disneyland's new Adventureland, specifically how it's oriented to the current layout of the park, because that reveals exactly how radical this transformation is. Over on the left-hand side, you can see the Pirates of the Caribbean New Orleans area. These red and white umbrellas are a direct match for the ones outside of Cafe Orleans, and these dome structures match the top of the Crystal Palace restaurant. So this concept art mainly takes over this area of Adventureland and part of Westernland. And keep in mind that there isn't a backstage area to expand beyond this. Adventureland currently butts up against a road, and across that is the railway station and Ikskiri, which is a shopping district similar to Downtown Disney or Disney Springs. So whatever they're showing here has to come from existing attractions. And there are some classics, including the Swiss Family Treehouse, the Enchanted Tiki Room, and Jungle Cruise. This concept art shows all of that being replaced, and honestly, this is kinda crazy. I could imagine Jungle Cruise being rethemed or retooled in a dramatic way, but completely demolishing it, removing it? I can't believe it. I might as well be on the Jungle Cruise right now because I'm in denial. If you like that joke, you should definitely get subscribed. And if you didn't like that joke, then let me know if you have an idea for a better joke. So, Jungle Cruise going away, that's wild. And there might be another ride getting replaced that would be even wilder, but that's a little bit more speculation on my part. So before I get to that, let's dive deep into what this concept art actually shows the park is getting in exchange for losing these classic attractions. This redesign of Adventureland shows 2 large e-ticket level rides, 3 smaller flat rides, a spinner, a swing carousel, and a boat ride, and at least 1 walk-through playground attraction, maybe 2. So definitely 6 attractions, 2 huge ones and 4 smaller to medium ones. Also, there's a dinosaur. I have no clue what that's doing there. Now, I compared this earlier to Fantasy Springs, and I think that's an apt comparison. That land is anchored around 3 IPs, Frozen, Tangled, and Peter Pan. Fantasy Springs opened last year with 2 Ultra E-ticket level rides, with Frozen and Peter Pan, and 2 smaller rides with Fairy Tinkerbell's Busy Buggies and Rapunzel's Lantern Festival. By the way, this is what a smaller ride looks like at Tokyo Disneyland. Slightly better than Tangled Toilets. So it looks like Imagineering is taking a similar tact with New Adventureland. Two massive rides supported by a series of smaller attractions based around 3 properties. So what are those 3 properties? The first one ties back to Aquatopia, Moana. I'm very certain that the boat ride in the bottom left is Moana, based on the shape of the boats and the sail shade over the walkway. That looks very similar to what was in the now cancelled Moana land that was floated for Animal Kingdom. So I think it's a safe bet that this boat ride is Moana. Now, how does that tie back to Aquatopia? Well, in my last video about the future of Tomorrowland at Magic Kingdom, I talked about how Disney could be building the Cars ride in Frontierland to act as a replacement to Tomorrowland Speedway, and the Monsters Inc. Theater Show in Hollywood Studios to act as a replacement for Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, basically paving the way for Disney to more easily close these older attractions. I think that could be what's happening with Aquatopia and the new Moana ride. Opened in 2001, Aquatopia is the second trackless ride that Disney ever made, so it's based on really old tech, and has fairly low capacity with 3-person vehicles. So a new boat ride based on a popular IP with possibly big boats in a more modern ride system could act as a really good replacement for Aquatopia. It's a flat ride, not a thrilling log flume ride like we saw in that Animal Kingdom concept art, so it should be fairly straightforward, but with some good theming and effects, this could be this land's Rapunzel's Lantern Festival. What else is going on with Moana in this land? The concept art doesn't show much, but considering how much the Polynesian island Hawaii is a very popular destination for Japanese tourists, some type of Moana-inspired Polynesian dining location could be a really great idea, although I doubt that they could get away with serving any pork. They made the pig too cute. Also, I wonder about this pond right here across from the boat ride. Maybe this is actually Journey of Water, or maybe just a scaled down version. Like it's not an actual attraction on the map, but there's a water feature here with a few dancing interactive fountains in front of a giant Te Fiti sculpture. Seems like a good way to enhance the land and give it some extra magic, which they do really well at Tokyo Disneyland. But that's just total speculation on my part. And the concept art just shows water, no journey, so that might be a real stretch. Hey, I thought I said I'd stop making that joke in the last episode, but wait a minute. That's the perfect transition to New Adventureland property number 2, The Incredibles. So this area in the top right is for sure The Incredibles. I've seen several people point out how this looks like Syndrome's Island from the first film. Also today I learned that the name of that island is No Man is an Island, as in No Man is an Island. Apparently Syndrome is as much of a fan of wordplay as I am. Another sign that this area is Incredibles is the Omnidroid spinner here. So the second of our smaller level rides, kind of like Dumbo but with a big evil robot. Very cool. Incredibles has already proven to be a popular property for food with Jack Jack Nom Nom cookies. Although they could put in a diner here and give us all the chance to recreate this classic moment from cinematic history. Every frame a painting. But the big Incredibles ride here is a roller coaster that looks like a monorail / bullet train that goes through the land. The Incredibles movies have a couple of thrilling monorail sequences, so maybe this is like the Metrolev train from Incredibles 2, and it goes out of control and the Incredibles have to save you. The concept art shows that this would be an indoor / outdoor roller coaster and that it would go underground. But the concept art also has me worried, because the No Man is an Island spires kinda looks similar to Big Thunder Mountain. Like, really similar to Big Thunder, which is located really close to where this would be. And I don't know if there would be enough room in this here theme park for the two of them. It's hard to know for sure because of the scale and the perspective of the concept art. I wasn't able to match it 1 for 1 exactly with my map, but it's close. And considering that Tokyo Disneyland already tore down their Space Mountain to rebuild a completely new one, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Tokyo would completely redo Big Thunder Mountain too. By the way, if you want to know more about that amazing new Space Mountain project, check out last week's episode. But back to Adventureland. So, Jungle Cruise, Tiki Room, and Big Thunder. Stock is down. But you know which stock is up? Up! Our final property for New Adventureland. And the movie that popularized the phrase "adventure is out there" has a huge presence in this Adventureland concept art. There are balloons scattered around this section of the concept art, and I think this is where all the up attractions are. Let's start with the smallest one. There is a swing ride here, and Disney just announced an upswing ride for Disney Adventure World at Disneyland Paris, so a version of that small ride could be coming here. Next, there are these rope bridges, and I think that implies a Wilderness Explorers play area, kinda like Redwood Creek Challenge Trail in California Adventure, or the Challenge Trails at Camp Discovery in Shanghai Disneyland. This, weirdly enough, is one of the things in the concept art I'm most excited to see, because Disney has been removing play areas from Disney World, so even though it's not the splashiest thing, it is so great to have something like this for kids, and really helps balance out a theme park. So I'm all for this. And hopefully Disney does more stuff like this in the domestic parks too. But the big, most obvious thing that says that this is up is Paradise Falls, the destination for Carl's big adventure in the movie. Paradise Falls is modeled after the real-world Angel Falls in Venezuela, which is the world's tallest waterfall, although Mr. Milchick told me that this is the world's tallest waterfall. My Audi should look into that. But what I'm more interested in is what's in this massive show building, most likely a massive ride. The trek through the jungle leading up to a massive piece of rockwork is giving me big Avatar Flight of Passage vibes, and making an upride based on the Flight of Passage ride system makes sense. But now I'm going to cash in my bold prediction that's guaranteed to be true or your money back. Remember that mystery ride from earlier this year? Disney had patented an interactive ride that kind of looked like a combination of Soarin' and Peter Pan's Flight, but where guests could pilot the vehicle. I think this ride will use that new ride system. If Flight of Passage is Soarin' 2.0, this ride would be Soarin' 3.0, with guests piloting their own plane or balloon house over Paradise Falls. Considering that OLC specifically said they are going to be leveraging unused intellectual properties and new technologies, that seems like a really great fit. And using Flight of Passage's ride system doesn't seem like how they would roll for the biggest attraction in this giant Adventureland overhaul. Which brings me to the biggest question. What's up with that dinosaur? Honestly, I still don't know. My best guess is that it's a placeholder. Like maybe the real idea is to have some giant Kevin figure at the entrance of this area, but Kevin would be a dead giveaway in the concept art, so they put another giant bird-like creature there instead. But this does make me wish that there was a dinosaur-themed land inside a Disney theme park. If only that would ever happen. But the actual biggest question is, what does this all mean for both Tokyo Disneyland and the US theme parks? And first, I should acknowledge the really exciting concept art of an elephant in the room. All of this may not happen. The Adventureland concept art is very early. It reminds me a bit of when Disney came out at D23 and was like, imagine if Coco was in Magic Kingdom and Moana and Zootopia were in Animal Kingdom. Wouldn't that be cool? And then by the next D23, those projects were already canceled. These are some very blue skies that we're talking about. But I do think it reveals some bigger picture things for how OLC, Disney, and Imagineering are approaching these theme parks. I'll start with Tokyo. Part of OLC's 10-year vision for the resort is to make Tokyo Disneyland more unique. They aim to, quote, provide moving experiences and surprises that cannot be found anywhere else in the world through development unique to Tokyo Disney Resort. Now, Tokyo DisneySea is really unique, with a lot of one-of-a-kind lands and attractions. But when it opened in 1983, Tokyo Disneyland was by design a copy of many of the elements of Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. Like Cinderella Castle is a clone of Orlando's, but there's a New Orleans area around pirates similar to Anaheim. Now, they've been moving away from that in that park for a while. Pooh's Honey Hunt, Monsters Inc. Ride and Go Seek, and the Beauty and the Beast ride are all Tokyo Disneyland originals. But this decade seems to put that plan into overdrive. They already started their overhaul of Tomorrowland, and next they will overhaul Adventureland in an even more ambitious way. Tokyo Disneyland is truly turning into a castle park unlike anywhere else in the world. And all of this is part of a strategy to boost attendance by appealing to more overseas guests. They say that explicitly in their 10-year plan. They want to increase customer acquisition around the world, including North America. And getting back to the US parks, this is another trend we're seeing at Disney World and Disneyland. Imagineering is making them distinct destinations. I don't think we're going to have another situation where Disney makes carbon copy lands like Galaxy's Edge on both coasts. At last year's D23, Disney didn't announce anything that would go in multiple destinations. Avatar at Disneyland is completely different than Animal Kingdom. The Rally Race ride in Nissan Frontierland is very explicitly not set in Radiator Springs like in California Adventure. The Galaxy's Edge that was announced for Paris was scrapped and is replaced by a Lion King land unique to that park. Ride systems and technology will be reused, but the theme and the story will be different from park to park. I think that will be the trend going forward. And I believe that's the result of the rise of video platforms like TikTok. 20 years ago, I don't think many US Disney fans had even heard of DisneySea. But last year, my feed was nonstop Fantasy Springs coverage. People are now much more aware of theme park destinations around the world. And if you can have something unique to your park that can be experienced nowhere else on the globe, then you might be able to draw more long-distance visitors who are more likely to see it through video-based social media. So I think OLC's strategy of making their parks more unique isn't going to be unique to Tokyo Disneyland. But there's also some bigger conceptual things going on with this Adventureland redesign, with two main parts. One is that it shows Imagineering is looking at Adventureland in a very different way. It's moved well beyond its original inspiration, Walt Disney's true life adventure documentaries exploring exotic tropical locales of the world. Now it's modern IP-based adventure, set anywhere from ancient Polynesia to the 21st century. Basically, if your movie has characters going on an adventure and has any section that takes place in a tropical location, it fits. The second big picture thing: nothing is sacred. Anything in a Disney park is subject to be replaced. Now, we've seen a bit of that with Disney getting rid of Muppet Vision and the Rivers of America. I personally am not happy with those choices, but like Obi-Wan, I can see it from a certain point of view. I don't like it and don't agree with it, but there's a logic to replacing less popular attractions with shiny new rides. Jungle Cruise and Big Thunder are not that. Now, part of this is Tokyo Disneyland trying to carve their own lane. But even still, those are drastic changes. Like, creators use the word shocking a lot to grab attention, but I was legitimately shocked to see this concept art. Now, does that mean that these rides are on the chopping block in the US? Will the new Adventureland be coming to Orlando and Anaheim? No. Tokyo has said explicitly that they want unique experiences, so there's probably something in their contract with Walt Disney Imagineering that says they get exclusivity to these attractions. So I wouldn't expect these exact Adventureland changes to come to the States. For one, I don't think Disney would touch Disneyland's Jungle Cruise. I know I just said that nothing is sacred, but that one feels pretty close. There's just too much connection between that ride and Walt. In fact, I'm not seeing much reason for them to change much of Disneyland's Adventureland at all. Indy is still great and really popular. They just redid the treehouse. Bengal Barbecue is peak quick service dining, and they don't have that much room anyway. But Magic Kingdom? Magic Kingdom is another story. This is just based on my gut, but I think Disney sees Disneyland as the historically important park. The one with attractions to preserve, especially originals that Walt worked on. But I don't think that extends to any other park. Now, Magic Kingdom's Pirates of the Caribbean is safe. I'm 99.9% sure. The fact that I'm not 1000% sure says a lot, but it's safe, right? Yes, no, it's safe. Now, I think Magic Kingdom's Jungle Cruise is safe, but only because it's really popular. Since they updated it a few years ago, it's been consistently one of the longest lines at Magic Kingdom and one of the hardest lightning lanes to get. Now, if it becomes less popular down the road, all bets are off. I don't even think that would happen, and if it did, we're talking on the timescale of decades. So let's go back to the near future with things that are much more likely to happen. There have been a lot of recent rumors of Moana coming to Adventureland in Magic Kingdom. Moana 2 was a huge hit, and Disney has done at least some R&D work on a Moana log flume ride. Although that would be pretty close to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and Disney would never put two of the same kind of ride right next to each other, right? Plus, there's an expansion pad already, so they wouldn't have to get rid of anything for this new ride. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't get rid of anything. Tiki Room is almost always a walk-on. I hope they don't get rid of it, but nothing's sacred. I think something that could plausibly happen is if the live-action Stitch movie does well, and if Tokyo Disneyland is getting rid of their Tiki Room that stars Stitch anyway, things are wild in Tokyo, maybe Stitch goes in here, saving the show in a weird way. And I think it's telling that Disney sees Up and The Incredibles as Adventureland properties, so maybe they'd get some type of representation in an Adventureland expansion. So, the future of Adventureland. Adventure is out there, and it looks very different than what came before. What do you think/hope will happen with these Adventureland updates? Let me know. This has been James from Guide to WDW. Thanks for watching, and I'll see ya in the future.